cho chân là để ego cho cho anh họ chọn cái kia cho nó bây giờ
When I hear Navajo, I think of a woman dressed in full attire, traditional outfit, velveteen, lot of jewelry, nice necklace, nice earring, nice hair bun. I think about that when I hear Navajo. But really, we don't dress that way anymore. It's kind of different. Everything is not the way they used to be. We're not as sacred that we're used to. There's got to be a way for our culture to survive because it's so, when you look at it, it's so unique. If we were to go back to how how I was when I was growing up, where there's a setting to where you're away from everybody. There's no TV, no phones, no cell phones, no internet. The whole process of um, being out in the rural, I think a lot of our language could be preserved. Navajo was my first language, and it was hard for the boarding school to make me stop talking Navajo. I guess the boarding school didn't want us speaking Navajo was because they wanted us to learn to speak English, and it was forbidden if you were to get caught speaking Navajo. They threatened to feed you soap, you know, to not, so we would, sneak around so we can speak our own language.
they went and sent most of the kids, some of the kids out to another state for education. They went to school in different states, and there they had different tribes going to school together, and they had to talk mostly in English. But during the summertime, it's just only 3 months of visiting, staying with their parents. Some of them kept their language, but some lost it. Jade na nado na sha kodo akonshe disha. Ato lost as a inchi. Mados jade kodo na ash. I losing the language, I think, is a real sad thing. But in our legend in our Navajo, he said that someday that the language is going to come in mostly in one language. The Navajo language is uh, native traditional in traditional way. We have a certain way of doing our ceremonies, and then we had to keep it and so use it in our traditional culture. I think it's very important, it's very precious to the warriors, and that's how the World War II was won. by using our language, Navajo language.
I like my uniform. I like uniform. That's why I joined the Marine. After I finished with my book training, they asked me, if you're a Navajo? Yes, I'm Navajo. You want to be the code? They didn't say code talker, that communication. So I said, yes, I'll join. I'll join. Then I took training for 5 months. It was hard. There's first they had a written by the first Navajo, 30 Navajos, and they were the one that wrote that how to about the code. First they argued over it. Well, how about we have seen everything at our home, dog, cat, horse, cow. Let's use that, start with alphabet. Nobody ever did figure out how we wrote the code. It's a code. That's why nobody understands it. Even the Navajo never took a training, will never understand it too. They said if not for the code talker, Marine will never have taken an Iwo Jima. I think everybody had prayer. They want to be alive after that. They pray for it. Sometimes I feel like crying. Sometimes I say, why did I have to join this? That's the way my gene. I should have stayed out of it. Now, I'm very happy that I was one of them. No? They say a lot of good things about us now. So that's how we became famous on this word. It's our language. It's language. We should be proud of our language. That's what I say. Your language has made the history.
Sorry, I can't speak in Navajo because I'm one of the statistics that.
I work as a paramedic. I actually run and operate an ambulance company. All of the work has been on the Navajo Nation.
A lot of the people that are getting, the EMTs are getting involved in EMS today are the younger generation that don't speak Navajo. Most of them, it's not even their second language.
It's very difficult to try and communicate with an elderly individual that doesn't speak English. And for somebody like me who's fluent in English and not fluent in Navajo, there's a communication barrier. And because of that, there's a delay in treatment because you're trying to figure out what's going on with this person. In those times, I feel ashamed that I can't speak Navajo. I wish I could, you know, because it would make a difference in somebody's life. And, you know, they're in my profession, it ain't always cut and dry, you know. There are the in-between where there's problems inside you can't see.
I know that exists, and other people know that exists, that communication barrier. So one of the things that we're doing to be proactive is when we're hiring, when we're selecting EMTs, one of the questions we ask them is, do you speak Navajo? It should be important, not just because it was the language that was used in World War II for the Navajo Cold Talkers, not just for the reason that it is a part of American history, but I think mainly for the reason because it identifies the people. It identifies the Navajo, the Diné. It identifies their culture. It identifies their beliefs. I think more importantly for those reasons, because when the language is gone, will the people be forgotten?
There are a lot of Navajo words that you cannot, there's no English word for it. And if you're gonna, there's no one word like, let's say hello or how are you. There's no one word or two word in Navajo to interpret that. You kind of have to tell a whole story of how you're doing. You can't just say, oh, I'm fine, because there's no such thing as, oh, I'm fine in Navajo. The Navajo language is a pictorial language. When somebody speaks in Navajo, it's like you actually can see what this person's talking about. You visualize in your mind what this person's talking about. I mean, that's the Navajo language. You can teach it. You can teach all the vowels, the consonants, all of that, putting maybe sentence together. But if you don't actually go out and spend time with somebody that speaks it fluently, you'll never get it, and you'll never learn it. At school right now, there's a lot of these children and a lot of these teenagers I don't know why, they're embarrassed to speak the Navajo language. But if somebody came in and said, you guys, have a cool language, you guys should learn to speak it, I think they would probably be motivated. This interview and has really opened my eyes, and now I'm thinking that I need to start teaching my children. I just need to be patient and to teach them, because through the Navajo language we have our culture, we have our clan system, we have our religion. If we lose our Navajo language, we don't know who we are anymore.
Navajo language, much like their culture, is a lot more easygoing, a lot more circular in nature. Everything is related to everything else. So that when you speak to someone, like if a lady comes in and she's got a rug to sell, for instance, you don't go up to her and you don't say, okay, how much you want for your rug? It's rude. It's considered rude for them. You have to go up and you have to introduce yourself. You say hello, you greet her appropriately as your grandmother, and you look at it, oh, this is beautiful, you talk about it. How long did it take to weave believe it. What's going on in your family right now? Is she selling it for a reason? Is there a ceremony or something like that that's coming up, or is it just for a little bit of extra money? You have to get around to it, and Navajo language is very much that way. You don't ever, it's not direct like English is. You ask me a question, I answer it. It takes a while to get to the point. I think the Navajo language, as far as being a spoken language, will cease to exist within the next couple of generations. I think that the reason that I care, personally, is that it's part of a mosaic. It's part of our history, our white American history, as much as it is Navajo history. It's part of the culture of America. And when you lose something like that, you lose part of the mosaic. You lose part of the whole picture, part of the beauty of the whole. That's why I think it's important. It's like a Van Gogh painting that gets burned up in the fire. Well, it was just a painting. It didn't have a whole lot of impact on my life, but no one will ever see it again in person. They may read about it, they may see a picture of it, but it's not the same.